Hello, and welcome to another episode of AllDay Edify. I'm Natasha, and this is my husband Corey, and we are your hosts.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Good to have you with us for another thought-provoking and exciting topic on today.
Yes, and so today we are doing something different, and yes, we're very excited about it.
Yeah, a lot of times, we determine, what the show's discussions or topics are going to be based on, conversations that we have with our friends or just conversations about things that we enjoy talking about. But today we're doing something different. Sometimes the topics are just based on things that other people bring to our attention.
Absolutely. And so today, what we're going to do is we're going to be responding to some interest brought to our attention by viewers who apparently considered us as a valid source for some value added dialogue on today's topic.
Exactly. And, we truly consider that a privilege. It's an honor, that there are individuals out there who think that, and they've been encouraged by some of the things that we're doing with the show. A lot of times we're simply just focusing on walking out what we believe is our God inspired purpose. And that is to engage in dialogue that is real life focused and it matters to people and sometimes presents unique dilemmas in people's real life situations.
Absolutely. And we're not, subject matter experts all the time. And, every day, what we're doing is basically with this show, what the actual aim is to uplift, inform, and enlighten. And, every day there are people that are reaching for solutions to better their situations, and they are open to receiving different opinions and perspective. And different doesn't always mean somebody is 100% right. Different sometimes means they are more experienced in an area or just as experienced, but with a different outlook based on their experiences.
Absolutely. And I can honestly say, babe, that some of the dilemmas that I face, some of the more difficult decisions that I've had to make, I've been benefited by having someone else's, and me being open minded, first of all, but having somebody else's input or perspective, a perspective different than my own, sometimes in factoring that into my decision making.
I absolutely agree with that, babe. And so being open minded enough to seek someone else's input and then being willing to apply it can make a big difference in how you handle situations. And this is why this episode is so exciting. So let's go ahead and dive into it.
Absolutely. Disclaimer, real quick. A part of taking on different people's ideas or perspectives is real important. That your moral belief system lines up with theirs, and if it doesn't, maybe you're seeking different ways to have a different approach to your moral belief system. And so, either way, just keep that in mind. Also, okay. Let's start with the first question. I'll read the first one, babe. Of course, it says that is it possible for someone to be the root cause or the reason for their own unhappiness or misery? Um, you can go ahead. You want to start off with that, babe, because I know you like this topic. We talked about it before about we think about does misery love company?
So, I just and just, having a conversation about this. So basically, what this viewer is saying is, they believe that misery loves company. And, is it possible for someone to be the root cause of their own unhappiness or misery? And so I believe that that's a possibility, just from a big perspective, is because sometimes when some people are trying to help some people in certain situations and they reject that help, they only want to continue to complain about their situations. They're not looking for a solution. They're not looking to be happy. So therefore, you will be the root of your own unhappiness because you're not accepting what other people are giving you in terms of looking or helping you seek a solution. And that's just kind of how I look at it, from my perspective.
Absolutely. And I know we talked about this before because at the end of the day, you owe it to yourself to do what you think is necessary to be happy. Unfortunately, sometimes we don't put a lot of thought behind the fact that your happiness demands that you make really difficult decisions sometimes. And if you find that you are in a relationship, doesn't matter what the relationship is, it could be a friend that you talk to sometimes, or you have a lot of involvement with, and you share a lot with, or whatever the case may be, or it may be a companionship relationship that you're in, to where you may be thinking about getting married or something like that or whatever. And in those relationships, it's really tough to be faced with needing to make a difficult decision. But at the end of the day, a failure to make that decision sometimes really means that you are yourself choosing not to remove yourself from that relationship. And so, because it all starts with you, your own personal happiness, then I believe that it's possible that you may be setting yourself up, putting yourself in a situation where, or failing to remove yourself from a situation where you're unhappy. And so, because of that, it all goes back to you, being that you are the person who's responsible for your own happiness.
And, sometimes I think that people don't even realize that they're doing that, in terms of rejecting other people's input, in terms of trying to help them solve the whole misery portion with giving their input, because they just might not be putting two and two together, because they're so focused on themselves and not the other person trying to actually help them. And so, I totally agree with what you're saying in that aspect.
Yeah, because a lot of times, you know, some relationships are are just, they're just pillars in your life. It might be a sibling, it may be, a family member that you are just always able to openly confide in. They know you, and because they're seeing a pattern of you being unhappy, and they want to share some things with you to help you see that from an outside looking in perspective. They've seen you happy before, and now they see you unhappy. And so, because they're sharing that perspective, I think that you should be able to have some people in your life that you give credibility to be able to share perspective with you.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the next question.
Mhm.
So the next question that we had is, I believe if you have something and you're not willing to share, that makes you selfish. So the
Hmm.
question is, am I wrong for expecting my mate to give me everything that I want if I know that they have the means to do it and I feel that it will make me happy? What do you think
Uh,
about that?
that's a challenging question because I believe that there are a lot of people who sometimes some people enter into relationships because they see the benefits that may result from being in a relationship with that person. But at the end of the day, my belief is that, yes, you should look to partner with people who make you better. However, I believe it's their choice in making a decision. And this is, we talked about this, it's really important to have boundaries in place sometimes, because boundaries kind of allow you to say, hey, I'm willing to share this, or hey, I'm willing to share. However, I want to be able to, uh, volunteer what I'm willing to share. Or if I want you to have something, I'll make it available to you. Sometimes people can take it as though you're imposing by suggesting that, hey, that what you got over there, yeah, I believe you should give that to me. I think you should make that available to me. What do you think, babe?
So, and just listening to the question and reading it and saying that, am I wrong for expecting my mate to give me everything that I want if I know they have the means to do it and I feel it will make me happy? In the big picture of things, um just because you have the means does not mean, I mean, you never know what your mate is thinking at that time, depending on what your request is, because it could be a temporary happiness. It could be something that's just instant gratification. It could be something that could be potentially just pacifying you because they know that if they don't give you something, you're going to respond in a negative way. So continuing to give you things that you want, it's really not helping you in terms of, whether it's with an attitude adjustment or just something just in general, to where you never know with that mate why they may not want to do certain things. Just because they have the means does not mean that you should get it, because it might not be helping you. And so
Right.
that's just kind of the way that I look at it. And so it's kind of more of a communication thing. Like, it's just like sometimes with your kids, you can buy them some things that they want because they want to ask for it, but is it going to help them? Is it going to really change their behavior? Is it going to, help them with chores or whatever, just because they want the new tennis shoes, they want this and want that? And when you tell them no, then they're acting up, they're, crying, or,
Mhm.
having a temper tantrum. And so, but you have the means to give them what they want, but is it good for them? Should you get that for them? So I think in a relationship, it could potentially be the same thing, because if there's a message out there that your mate is trying to get across and it's not going to help you, then that conversation needs to be had. But it's not like you should be doing this just because you have the means and you're being selfish. I mean, that's just how I look at it. What do you think?
No, I agree. I agree. And I think that, like, one of the examples that you give, very good description you've given to that answer. Very good response. I think that one of the things that we have to consider is, like, say, for instance, financially. If, say, for instance, you're in a situation where you have two separate accounts, which I do not encourage for people that are married, you know what I mean? But if you're in a situation where you got two separate accounts and you're functioning irresponsibly with your resources, and then all of a sudden you're coming back to your mate and saying, like, well, you have it, I think you should give it to me. Then all of a sudden, absolutely, you're making the right decision to say, you know what, I think that the best thing I can do here is to stick to my guns. And I think you need to do a better job of managing your finances or being more disciplined with your spending. If you want to have more money available when it gets close to time for, your next paycheck, and now you've got nothing, then that means that maybe you need to deny yourself something a little bit earlier, or right when you get paid. So then that way you'll have some more money available. And in that case, you're making the right decision to say, hey, look, no, I don't think that just because I have it, I should give it to you, because I don't think that's helping you. And basically, if I'm not helping you, I'm hurting you, then that means that at the end of the day, you're not going to be a really good option for me to partner with in a commitment level. So sometimes somebody telling you no can be their way of helping you to see and understand that I need you to be a better partner for me up the road. So I have to make this difficult decision in denying you what you're asking me for. So I agree.
Now, one thing I do want to add to that, because it could potentially go a different way, because if you entered into the relationship getting what you want because of the person having the means and everything built upon that, like every time you ask something, you got it because they have the means, and that's how you built your relationship, and then it just totally
It
stopped,
catches up with you.
then
Yeah.
that's a different conversation, because now I can understand where you may feel like, okay, you being selfish now because all of this time you've been doing this, and now
You
you're
got me.
no. Right.
Yeah.
And now you're saying no. So you're being selfish. And so I see how it can go both ways. So it definitely depends on the situation, because if you entered into that relationship on those terms based off of that, they're going to be expecting you to keep that up. Like, keep that same energy. How you got me, keep that
Yeah.
same energy going. And so
Exactly.
now that could be a definite, thing.
Right, right. I agree, because and this is why you're a lot better off. I believe, my wife will tell you early in our relationship, or it's always best to apply tough love early in a relationship. You can't, you can't be the Pillsbury Dough guy or just always you're the yes man to everything. Then all of a sudden, you kind of want to play devil's advocate, or you want to all of a sudden, help somebody learn a difficult lesson after you've gotten them accustomed to this being the expectation that they should have. And so I think that I agree 100%. Be who you are, stay consistent with who you are, and you won't find yourself feeling as though somebody is looking at you unrealistic because you denied them something. The one time you want to stick to your guns and stand on your soapbox and say, no, I ain't doing this. I ain't giving it to you. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to keep it 100 today. You ain't been doing that before. So now you're turning it into a different guy or a different woman. The next question is actually, it says, is it wrong to expect my mate to do the things that make me happy on occasions when they don't quite feel up to it? Wow. And so again, man, this is, I'm telling you, people are not shame or shy about asking for what they want, and they want answers, And so you mind if I take this one on first, babe? Okay. So my thinking is, and I think I may have gotten a little bit ahead of myself, is, because in my mind, the idea and the concept of establishing boundaries is so important. It's important that early in the relationship, you establish boundaries, because as we look at this question, you're asking someone to, number one, establish and understand that they're outside of their comfort zone. And you're asking them to still extend to you something that you want, or do something that they want done because it's going to make you happy. Simply because it'll make you happy, they should be okay with being uncomfortable. And so this is why I believe that it's really important in establishing a comfort zone or boundaries so that people understand what your discomforts are. So then that way it makes it really difficult for them to put you on the spot or to say, hey, I expect you to do this. Once you establish those boundaries, then I think it becomes a lot clearer to an individual that if you're asking me to do this, you're making me uncomfortable. And because of that, now you have to ask yourself, are you just willingly being selfish, or did you forget that these were my boundaries and this is something that I'm uncomfortable with? And I think that it's okay to we talk about that in quite a bit in the book, that you should expect that your mate is the person who is going to help you to get outside of your comfort zone. And it's okay to be stretched a little bit. We allow ourselves to be stretched on the job. We allow ourselves to be stretched within other areas of our personal relationships. We stretch ourselves financially sometimes, but we should not expect that somebody should be willing to sacrifice to our benefit if it makes them uncomfortable. One of the biblical principles that we like to apply and think about a lot regarding relationships, and sometimes we can determine, like, is this just a thing to where we're just so different, or it makes us incompatible that you think it's acceptable for me to be the sacrificial lamb for your benefit? We refer to it as being equally yoked. You know what I mean? Is a person so different that they don't see that they're making you uncomfortable to their benefit? And if that's the case, then all of a sudden you have to ask yourself, from a moral perspective and on some foundational belief system stuff, is this person just somebody that's just bad for me if they think that it's cool for me to hurt or experience some discomfort just so they can benefit? Let's take a look at, I think we got time for one more question. And this last question, it deals with, it says, where do you draw the line on expectations being too high prior to making a commitment to marriage? And a little comment that was here, it says, if I show my love for you and you don't do the same, maybe I'm in the wrong relationship. Where do you draw the line on expectations being too high prior to making a commitment to marriage? Babe, you want to respond to that?
Okay. So, well, that's a pretty big question. Where do you draw the line on expectations? I think that you draw the line immediately. I think it should be in the forefront because it goes back to the communication. So the comment was, if I show my love for you and you don't do the same, maybe I'm in the wrong relationship. And so if you're feeling that way, you don't need to continue in that pattern without getting an understanding and setting expectations up front, because that's what kind of helps with the relationship. Now, if you are really deep into the relationship already and you're thinking about marriage, and absolutely marriage, premarital counseling, that's really good to have, communicating with someone that can potentially help with your relationship. Getting those, expectations put out in the open before making that commitment, so that way you can know where to draw the line, and just assuming that your mate is thinking one thing over the other.
Absolutely. I agree with that wholeheartedly. That the premarital counseling is very vital if you're considering marriage, and if you're at a place to where, as this question reads, if you're at a place where you feel it's necessary to draw the line on your expectations being too high, you're showing love towards someone and they're not reciprocating that, then is it even worth taking the next step towards premarital counseling? Those are questions that you have to ask. You have to make your counterpart aware that you believe that there's an imbalance in terms of what's being reciprocated. And that's some dialogue that needs to take place so you can make a healthy decision about how much further you want to move ahead. And that's based on, of course, you're making sure that you're not being impatient or anything like that, and that you're not being in denial about the fact that maybe you want to move at a different pace than that person is willing to. And so you have to really be careful with being premature and thinking that you're at a stage where marriage is something that should be in consideration.
And that's really good to point out too, is because you just never know. And so getting that out in the open is really, really good to do. We do have one more question. The
Mhm.
last question we have is, I always heard the term happy wife, happy life. Shouldn't a real man be willing to do whatever to make his woman happy? Shouldn't he be able to do whatever to make his woman happy? So, babe, I'll let you go ahead and take
Oh my gosh. I was trying to avoid that question.
it.
No, it's a difference. The key here is make his woman and make his wife. A person making their woman happy. My belief system, me personally, I personally believe that some things are sacred, and me going out 100% prior to marriage, I don't encourage that. However, I don't believe in the concept of intentionally holding back and thinking or assuming that you get to that place to where this person that you care about is willing to call you their husband or make you their wife. So I think that you have to really apply some wisdom there, and making sure that if you believe that you can make someone happy, but at the same time, it's not extending you or stretching you too far to do that. I don't think that there's anything unhealthy about it. However, at the end of the day, like we started off saying, a person owes it to themselves to be happy. So I cannot be responsible for every level of happiness that you're seeking in life. You can't make a man or a woman responsible for that. That is something that you have to really be in touch with yourself about, and you have to have realistic expectations of how much someone is able to complement your happiness. Someone being able to complement your happiness, because nowadays women have more resources to being able to do so much more for themselves, and men should be able to do more for themselves than they were before, to where we should be able to complement each other and partner together to one another's happiness. Those are my thoughts.
Absolutely. I mean, and I totally agree with that. And the term happy wife, happy life, on the outside, it sounds really good. Like, yes, everything that I want, you need to, go ahead and give to me. But, at the same time, you need to know what your happiness is on your end before you can feel like somebody else is going to make you happy. Kind of like I said earlier, just because I have the means or can do it does not mean it's good for you. And so sometimes too, you might want to look at it in terms of some people need sometimes to go through some unhappy situations to even
Absolutely.
know what's gonna make them happy. And so they may want this is gonna make me happy. Then they get it, and then that didn't make them happy. Oh, this, you get it, and then it doesn't make you happy. And so
Exactly.
sometimes a lot of people have run into unhappy situations to determine what's gonna make me happy. This I know right here is gonna make me happy. And so, it just kind of sometimes goes with experience.
Yep, absolutely. And that's something that we talked about a lot because and I'll be really honest with you, I'm a big believer in tough love. I don't think that should be limited to a male or a female. I believe that people benefit from tough love. And so when we have people in our lives who are willing to demonstrate some tough love towards us, it makes us better. And sometimes telling somebody no, sometimes telling somebody like, you know what, I don't think you know what you want. You know what I'm saying? I believe that based on my observation, based on everything you told me, based on what I'm seeing, based on me being able to help you as a partner in your decision making, that I believe that you may want this temporarily, but deep down at the end of the day, I don't think it's good. Not for us, not for you and me together and partnering in this relationship at this stage. So timing is everything.
Right.
Awareness of one another is everything. Communicating the details, because if you feel as though you have a reason to say no, I believe that you owe it to that individual to explain them your reasoning. Like, look, I believe I want to see you happy, but this is why I believe that this is a bad idea. This is why I believe that right now, you asking me to do something that's on some marriage level stuff. And I believe that if I do that, then what do you have to look forward to? And women can say that in a lot of different ways themselves. Like, hey, I might be better off making you wait to get what you're asking me for, opposed to prematurely giving you access to something that I think that is going to devalue the way that you look at the concept of me being your partner in a lifelong relationship. And so we have to make those tough decisions, put on our big girl and big boy pants and say, nah, you're going to have to wait for that. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And so I know, I just really want to thank our viewers that did reach out to us with some of these questions. And we do have more. And so we may be following up, on another show with some other questions that they have. And we just really, I want to thank you guys, both of us, for keeping us encouraged, with the show and, giving us feedback. It really means a lot to us. And so here at AllDay Edify, our aim is to uplift, inform, and enlighten you.
All day, every day.
Do you provide human services? Are you an entrepreneur that contributes to society? Do you have access to tools and resources that facilitate growth and development? Come be a guest on our show. You can email us at alldayedify@gmail.com or send us a message on our Facebook page at AllDay Edify.
A new way to watch TV on the web and on Roku, the High Dimension Network. Check us out on the web at www.highghd.tv. That's highghd.tv on the web. And search us under High Dimension Networks on Roku. Yes, we're on the web and Roku. And we're bringing music, news, fashion, culture, and lifestyle. The lineup, that's my jam. Top 10 from the streets. And we know sports. New to the game, legends in music, and so much more. It's about time. Something new in TV. Brand new flavor on the web and on Roku. High Dimension Network. Check us out on the web at www.highghd.tv. That's highghd.tv on the web. And search us under High Dimension Networks on Roku. Yes, we're on the web and Roku. High Dimension Networks. That's highghd.tv. A new TV channel, Sundial Networks, showcasing urban culture, music, lifestyle, fashion, talk shows, comedy, movies, and more. TV lineups, slow jams, Game of Life, Sundial Soul, live from the Smokehouse, The Battle, New versus Old, 60s and 70s Time Machine, all that jazz. And on Sundays, special programming with religious roots, gospel soul, R&B classic gospel. You can find us on the web and on most smart TVs at www.sundial.tv. That's sundial.tv. And on Roku. Yes, Roku. Free. No subscription needed. Search for us under Sundial Networks. That's Sundial Networks. Sundial Networks.